Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with another episode of the ABJ Podcast, episode 30. I'm out of it, ladies and gentlemen. I am tired. I'm beat. I'm trying to get so much done in one day. It's a lot going on over here on the ABJ front. So let me just get the housekeeping and stuff done. Let's get all this out of the way real quick so I can bring in my guest tonight. So in the links below are some shows that you can come check out, ABJ, and support independent wrestling. Unfortunately, this weekend, unless you already have a ticket, Anarchy Rules, February 18th, 150 Chestnut, Nutley, New Jersey. IWA is sold out. Cannot get to that show. Make sure you follow IWA on the links below for all their social medias. So next show you don't miss out. I'm telling you right now. If you're a wrestling fan and sometimes you go to a show and you're like, man, the show was good, but the crowd sucked, because it happens. Sometimes the fans aren't into shows and it takes away from the experience. Go to IWA, because that is not the experience there. These are the most crazy nut job fans you'll ever meet in your life. They are from Nutley, so that might have something to do with it. So yeah, definitely go grab some tickets so you're able to come hang out next time. Following weekend, February 25th, in the No Limits Boxing Academy in South Rio Grande, New Jersey. You're right by the ocean. If you want to go jump in, do like a polar plunge, do you live your life? I know people are all about jumping in cold water. That's like a trend now. So you can come do that. But you can come hang out with myself and Peter DeLong on commentary for SSW Zero Gravity. And then in March, we have Uncle Massey's 40th birthday bonanza in Throop, Pennsylvania. 500 Sanderson Street. That's going to be March 5th. Links are below to get tickets for that, as well as Spring Break 93 HTW. They couldn't find a VJ, so they brought in ABJ. And Anthony Black will be hosting the event. We have live music. And for all these events, you can contact their social medias for IWA, SSW, High Tension, and Smash Master. If you would like to sponsor, all the commentaries will give you a shout out, social media plugs, a whole nine. It's a great way to get some exposure. Also, right now, coming up actually, it's going to be this Sunday, February 19th. All of the Camp Leapfrog back library from IWTV will be coming over to YouTube for absolutely free. So if you have not had an opportunity to check out the awesome work that was done at Camp Leapfrog, now's your chance. Head over to High Tension Wrestling YouTube page and go subscribe and go watch a whole bunch of amazing back content, as well as just if you look at below my YouTube channel, just it says friends to follow and wrestling companies that I support. Just go follow them all. Show them all love. Go support. Do all that great stuff. People in the chat. Dave's already here from the 2300 podcast. My boy Matt in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. But without further ado, especially all links and the follow social media for my guests and some injured wrestlers, if you want to support, is below as well. High Tension Network's already in the chat. Let's throw them some love here. Heck yeah. Can't believe Frog, baby. ABJ and Paige Watchey. Well, there it is. Now let's bring her in. The photo daddy herself. Paige. TM. Sorry, TM.
TM.
Trademark.
Yeah, yes, TM.
Yeah.
Trademark. Very important part.
Yeah. I did say free, so if you want to go check out Camp Leapfrog, it is all free. Dylan Quinn says, best photographer in the game.
Ow.
I agree. But listen,
Dill.
Paige, I'm going to make you uncomfortable real quick. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. I'm here to blow the lid off a conspiracy. I'm here to out Paige publicly. All right. I love that. That's a great start. So we have all these aircrafts being shot down. We have UFO and alien sightings all over the world. And I'm here to tell you right now that Paige is not from this planet. She is an alien. And I have proof, because no one should be as talented as her and not be human. As well as I hung out her for almost a full 24-hour period, and she didn't consume any liquid or food for 24 hours. And that is not human. She is not of this world. And all these UFOs and everything are coming to get Paige back and bring, because she's trying to phone home, and they're trying to take her home because the world doesn't deserve Paige, and they're trying to take her back to her home planet.
It's about time. Hello, guys. Hello.
The whole time I'm like, Brian, she's gonna pass out. Like, we're gonna have to call an ambulance, because no one should. And me and him are eating like for the 14th time. We're like, are you sure you're not hungry?
I was okay. Legitimately, I had like $10 to my name that day.
I would have bought. I would offer to pay.
I know. That's on social anxiety.
I feel you.
Automatic bill came out, and I was like, "Listen, I'll be fine. I had coffee. It's good." And I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be that person that's like, "Oh, hey,
I've been there.
you got me?" Like,
I've been there. Totally been there.
Yeah, I did go home and like
devour. Yeah.
Yeah, I crammed a lot. That was kind of
Awesome. So you are a photographer, an artist. I mean, there's a lot you hang your hat on. You're generally just a super creative person. But I really want to dive into something first that we were talking about before the podcast started. I was told by an inside source that you are currently obsessed with Bernie Madoff. You've been watching documentaries.
Ponzi scheme. Yes, I've watched it. I've always so in college you always heard like Madoff thrown around, but like no one ever really kind of knew what they knew it was a Ponzi scheme, but like no one knew why he did it, how he started it, any of that shit. So I've watched this documentary like no less than 6 times. I like and it just blows my mind because he never actually gives anybody an answer as to like why he did it. He's just like, I didn't have to, but like I did it. Like, no one knows why. And him and his brother.
Rich people are fucking greedy.
They are. And like, I'm sorry. The one guy that like killed himself in the pool, he knew. He absolutely knew. A bunch of them knew. Like I think they called it the Big Four. Yeah. Like he would call them if he was in trouble. Like they absolutely knew. But like him and his brother didn't have to do it. Like they were starting to do those like electronic trading. And they were like bigwigs for it. Everyone on Wall Street was like, you know what? And Bernie decided to do it.
Here's where my socialist, sorry, America, I said the word. Here's where my socialist brain and my just being poor my whole life and seeing other people poor and people who are really, really creative and just don't make it because the way our social structure is made up. Yeah. Like Bernie Madoff, just because he wanted to, made billions. He was already a billionaire and made more and just made like ruined people. And he ruined like other rich people out of their money. So like, I'm not really too heartbroken over it.
Right. Like
I'm gonna be honest.
Bad for like the little people involved.
The rich people, like there was not a lot of little people involved. It was like rich people like, I can make more from this guy. And they were kind of like, this guy's shady, but he got me. You know what I mean?
Well, right, because they would go to banks, right? And these people, there was these stupidly rich people that had accounts at these banks. They were like, stop. If Bernie knows you're asking, we're going to lose our account. Stop. Like they absolutely knew. There was no reason. And what was that mathematician's name? I feel really bad. I can't think of his name now. He figured it out within like 5 minutes. He's like, it's a straight 45-degree angle. Mm-hmm. It's a Ponzi scheme. Are you joking? And
you want to see another good Ponzi scheme documentary that kind of takes place around here? The Polka King.
What?
On Netflix. Who the fuck played the Polka King? I think it was Jack Black. Am I right with that?
I don't know.
So this guy was a polka singer, and he lived in Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
Stop.
And he essentially started a Ponzi scheme with his listeners. He was like, "Yo, if you invest into my company, I can reinvest your money and do this." And he was from Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's a crazy documentary, but it's another Ponzi scheme documentary that he was doing.
Don't you think people by now would be like, I don't know,
dude? They fell for it. All he did was show like little tchotchkes, like Polish tchotchkes and shit. Like he had like a store, and he was connecting people through wrestling. Says my best friend lives in Hazleton. I live 20-30 minutes from Hazleton. Speaking of polka, my trainer was Grammy-nominated polka drummer. Random, there you go.
Hey,
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is where we go and do stuff with like Sanctuary and stuff. But yeah, Hazleton's a cool town. It's not too far from us. But another cool thing I want to just give a quick plug. It's funny. I was kind of telling you a little bit. So a person who supports the podcast, and I've been friends with him for a while. Nikolai. He does a lot of extra work. He's an inspiring actor. He wants to do cool things. Nikolai was in the Bernie Madoff movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's little Nikolai right there.
Look at him.
People's money with those big ass glasses.
Look at him.
that's what's funny. Nikolai said he wasn't allowed to shave, so that's like bearded Nikolai.
Oh my God.
It's really not. I'm just fucking with him. But yeah, he was so nervous because like we went out to go hang out and do stuff, and he was like, I can't get sunburn. I can't do this. Like he was like applying all because he's like it's a Netflix documentary, so they can't. He only had a small, so like that's just like a little insight of like acting. Like if you go, you can't cut your hair, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go get a tan, you can't get sunburnt. Like they need you for if they do reshoots and stuff. It's a whole deal. But yeah. So you watched that like 3 times and seen Nikolai and didn't even realize it.
I didn't realize it, no. And I knew immediately who you were talking about because I always, for whatever reason, not that it was funny, but just that close up, getting closer on their face with the big old glasses. I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I knew immediately what you were talking about.
Nikolai was also on a court TV show one time where he sued his friend because he was a magician. It was like on one of those judge shows. Yeah. Fun fact, they're all fake. Yeah.
I kind of Yeah. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they're all actors. They're all fake. None of those court shows are real. Sorry to ruin it for you.
It's not real?
No. People try to ruin wrestling all the time. Everything you watch on TV is fake. So stop shitting on wrestling.
I should know this. I really should not be surprised that Judge Judy's fake, but
this whole podcast is scripted. None of this is real.
None of it.
Yeah. No, magic is 100% real. Just television's fake. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just television.
Yeah, magic, tarot cards, ghost, God, all real.
Well, ow, maybe. I don't know.
As she elbow drops her desk. So wrestling, how did you get into this crazy life of professional wrestling? Is it something you've always been a fan of, or was it just like, I like doing photography and they'll take me in? How did you get involved in all this nonsense?
It's like a little bit of both, to be honest. So I always liked wrestling. My aunts always liked it, right? They were obsessed with like Shawn Michaels. I love China personally.
I like China too. I was more of a China. See, I like China and DX, but I was more of a fan of China when she was with Eddie Guerrero. I liked Mamacita China.
Ooh. See, I only knew her from DX. Like that's when I was introduced to her. You know what I mean? So like I always liked it. I remember when the Shield started and when what was that? When Randy Orton first started and he was like a tiny little baby.
He was with Evolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was like, it's really cool to watch, but like, you don't talk about it at school because people can make fun of you for it. But it's cool if you play Dungeons and Dragons in school, but like whatever.
Yeah, if you're a girl who watches wrestling, it's probably some tough sledding.
Yeah. So in photography, I always liked film, photography, video. My mom always talks about like I used to try and take video cameras from her if she was filming. I was like, let me do that. So, but it was really by accident. Drew Danusky, he's like one of my best friends. I love him. He's an amazing ring announcer and he's just a great dude. He was my internship supervisor out of college. So end of college, you have to go intern, all that other crap. He worked.
You have to go work for free to prove yourself, kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he was my internship supervisor, one of them at Quick Rock. And like, we just got on the conversation of wrestling one day. He's like, you should come with me to like see Indy wrestling. And I was like, what? He's like, it's like, it's not like the televised, it's Indy, like local. So, and that's how it started. And then they needed.
It's much more budget, but a lot more fun.
Right. It's a lot more fun. And they just needed a photographer for a show. I guess their guy quit and I just never stopped doing it. They were like, hey, can you come back for the next one? And that's all it's been since. It's just like, hey, can you come back for the next one? So
I love when people, because I've only really been in the indie scene 2, maybe 3 years, if that. And I might even be pushing it.
4, maybe.
Yeah. And people are like, oh my God, how did you get in this business? I'm like, it's not hard. Just show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always
like, you don't even have to be that good.
You just have to be there. Like, you just got to be there. I think they were like, oh my God, she's like kind of funny and she's super nice and it's like decent photos. Bring her back,
Yeah.
So he kept coming back. It is weird though. Like I had a girl when I worked retail, she overheard me talking about editing these effing wrestling photos because there's so many. She's like, how do you get into wrestling? I'm like, you got a camera? Yeah. Show up.
Yeah.
Ask. Show up and ask. Like,
speaking of editing wrestling photos, we're gonna talk about it. So I was at the sanctuary one night, and you and Eric Pinhat were having photography talk. And a few other photographers were there, and you were like schooling the new photographers on wrestling stuff. Yeah. And I remember Eric saying, like, I think someone asked Eric, like, what is your least favorite part about editing? Because I think you and Eric both had your cameras and your laptops, and you were like working on photos before the show started. And Eric goes, I'm sick of this. I'm not doing it no more. I'm making a firm stand right now. I'm telling every wrestler, I am done editing out weens in photos. And I literally said, what are you talking about? Because I've personally never looked.
Right.
And now every single photo of a wrestling match, guess where my eyes go? Because of you, too.
It's okay. It's something you don't notice until you're like going through your photos the last time. Like it's
like noticing the arrow in the FedEx logo. Once someone tells you there's an arrow in the FedEx logo, every time you look at the FedEx logo, your eye goes to the arrow first.
Yep.
So now, because I was exposed to it, all of you are going to be exposed to it. There's tons of wiener in wrestling photos. Tons.
Yeah.
Because some people don't wear anything under their trunks.
I found a workaround. I just dropped my shadows and I just dropped the black. So it says in Lightroom at the very bottom, you can like adjust your whites, you can adjust your blacks, your contrast, your shadows. I just drop it all. Like I'm not going in there with a healing brush. It feels really weird to do. I'm not doing it. I'm just dropping the shadows.
The anti-ween button. There you go. There it is.
Just
if you don't want your mouse and clickers to be working on some dickers, I tried to rhyme. I don't know. It was dumb. There's how you do it. Paige just gave you all a photography lesson on how to eliminate the ween. I made the joke last podcast on Alex, as I said, I think if I get new promo photos, I need the opposite effect. I need someone to add ween to it. You know what I mean? And I want it like super unrealistic. Like I want to look like an 80s hair metal guy that like stuffed his pants. Yeah, I want it. I want it so it looks so clearly fake that it's hilarious. You know what I mean? And then I'm gonna send it to every wrestling promotion and be like, "Here's my promo photo." They'll be like, "We're not fucking using it." And then every photo's from my chest up.
Right? They're like, "We can't." On good.
They're like, "We can't take this fucking guy seriously. We're never booking him again."
Who is this guy?
It would save so much more miles on my car. Imagine if that's the reason I got unbooked. Is I had a huge fake ween added to my promo photos.
The only bad thing we have to say, who sent us a questionable promo photo. So
commentary canceled for inappropriate but hilarious promo photo. Oh man, that'd be amazing. I wouldn't even hate that cancellation. That'd be amazing. That'd be a budget on it.
Understudy?
What's up?
Is this a Steel Panther understudy? Like
yes. My buddy's band's on tour right now with Steel Panther again. It's their second time touring with them.
You know all the cool people, I swear.
I try. I have really, really, really talented friends. I somehow just managed to find myself to be friends or be around talented people, and I'm just very fortunate because I don't possess or own any talent myself. So I just try to rub off other talented people because iron sharpens iron. So eventually I'll get good at something. I just don't know what.
I think you're talented. I think you're talented.
So one of the questions in the chat, connecting people through wrestling, how many shows have you worked? Good luck.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. Like within my first year, the company I was working for, they ran 2 shows a month. So I'm not good at math. It's like 24, right? And then like times 10 or whatever. So it's probably gotten close to, I want to say it's been close to about like 100 shows, maybe more than that. It's got to be more than that. But it's definitely tipped the scale over 100. I honestly don't keep track. I cannot keep track of a calendar either.
I'm in the same boat. And that's a thing. Like, I've only really been doing this a short time, but but people, when they ask, like, how many commentary things have you done or how many wrestling shows, I'm like, I have no idea. Yeah. I just get in the car and go. Like,
honestly, that's all it is. Like, it's truly a blur. Like, you get in and you go, and then you realize it's 2 years later and you've done how many shows already.
Yeah. And you're like, wow. And then you have some veterans who are like, oh, this is my 100th show. You're like, 100th? I did that shit like my second month. Like
oh my gosh.
I think with and it's not really a problem, but I think a lot of people, like, they'll come in and they'll be like, all right, so you're going to work for this promotion. And then people go like, and there's nothing wrong with loyalty, but also, like, if you want to get good at your craft, if you just work for one place, you're not going to get the reps to get better.
I think the big issue is like when that home promotion or the one you start with. I mean, I think anybody can attest to this, maybe. Like, a lot of them, they almost get really possessive. And especially if they see that, like, you're starting to do well, they can get kind of possessive. Mm-hmm. I can honestly say that, like, the place I started with, they were all like, heck yeah, girl, get it. Go do your thing. Go work those shows. Heck yeah, you deserve it. But I have heard that there have been people, their home promotions are very, like, possessive.
I think that comes with anything. I don't want to say just the wrestling business, but it's just in general. Like, and then when you work somewhere and then go somewhere else, they're like, oh, we gave them their shot. It's like, sure, but you also weren't in the car and drove with them to the next 18 shows. You weren't the one sitting at their house while they were struggling how to learn how to edit or do this or do that. Like, sure, you gave them a launching point, but you can't take credit for their whole career.
Right. No, you're right. Exactly.
Yeah, but I think that's the biggest key is it's not just being like, hey, being loyal, but just getting out there and getting the work in, you know?
Yeah, you can't be afraid to travel. Like, car mileage, forget about it.
I'm literally the epitome of Charlie from Always Sunny. Like, I never left a 30-mile radius of my house for the first probably 30 years of my life. Mm-hmm. And then I just started doing this wrestling thing, and I'm like, went to Jersey twice in 1 month, and I was like, this is insane for me. Like, that's not something I've ever done. And now it's just like, oh, I've been to Jersey more times in my life in the past 6 months than my entire life. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's crazy to think about.
Yeah. It's odd. Like, my friends are all like, you literally don't do anything. Like, you don't leave your house, you go to the gym, you go home. Like, in that now you're just strapped like hours away for wrestling, and they don't get wrestling either. They like it. Like, my best friend Kate is obsessed, but they don't get it. Like, they see it as like the televised thing. They don't see that it's like 18 hours.
But even the televised, like,
that's much more.
It's so crazy. Well, here's a question, like a photography thing. So I kind of dabbled a little bit in photography here and there. And I am, as we're talking, I'm kind of like creeping on your page. So I'm trying to find this one photo because I want to post it up. And I keep finding more photos that eventually I'm going to start dropping in the chat. So if you're listening to this audio, there's going to be some cues in here that you're going to hate because if you're listening in your car, you're like, I can't see. Well, go check it out on YouTube. I need to subscribe anyway. And if you're watching this, you can listen to the ABJ podcast in your car and be just as pissed as these people are. So yeah, I think the coolest part is when wrestling promotions have a little bit more of a professional setup, because sometimes it is what it is, and there's no knock, but like some places just kind of show up in a gym, they put up a ring, or they show up here and put up a ring, and then it's your job as the photographer. And I think this is where you stand out, and a Pete stands, and not Pete. I'm looking at the chat and see Pete, and a Pin Hat stand out. It's one thing to take a photo of the wrestler and a photo of the action, but I think what sets you apart is you find that backdrop, you find that moment, you find a angle, you find like almost like a cinematic look, and use your environment to pull out your photo even more. Thanks. And I think that's what makes you stand out. And then if you put you in a scenario, like, for example, like your photos are fantastic and Pin Hat's photos are fantastic at like any wrestling venue you put you at, but then you drop you in at a little more setup place that has the lights and the way everything's set up. And when I say lights, like for example, AXW Outbreak, they have the lights above the ring. And
right.
the rest
Which
of
I love. I think it's like the coolest. It's the most. There's something about that lighting I like, that top down, because it makes really nice hard shadows. Like, for example, there's a photo of Schultz that I grabbed where he's up on the corner and he's doing his thing, but you get this really nice hard like top down lighting, and it just defines every single muscle they have, and it just has this very, I don't want to say ethereal, but genuinely it does, because then they're all backlit, they've got a nice rim light, and it's just, I love that type of lighting. I think it's
but the thing is with that lighting, if you don't know how to handle that lighting,
it sinks.
It's hard to shoot at. Like that, like some photographers, you can tell when they struggle in low light and they only have very little top light, because then their photos are super grainy or there's a lot of noise or stuff like that.
Right.
But you have and then, oh my God, photographers with flash ringside is my favorite too. I've seen that a couple times. But like you can literally put 100 photographers ringside and go back and look at everyone's photos. And it's not necessarily who has the most expensive camera, because you could have the most expensive camera in the bunch, but still not know how to use it. You know what I mean? Like I talked to a professional photographer and he said, your money's not in your body. The money's in the lens. Yeah. And people are like, well, I need to upgrade. I need to get the better camera. I need to upgrade and get the 90D or the Mark 28 or whatever is up there. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, no, like I literally watched a professional photographer take photos with a Rebel, like a Rebel 2 or something. And his photos look better than a Mark D.
It's really down to understanding, like you have to understand how your camera works, but you also have to understand like your exposure triangle, how lighting works, how it interacts, things like that. You have to like, so there's basic fundamentals, yes. But once you understand that, and once I don't know, like once you understand that, like it is 0 to like 250, you're doing great. You know what I mean? Because like I've had people reach out to me like, oh my, like what setup do you use? Like I want to take photos like you. And it doesn't, honestly, like I'll tell you what my setup is. I don't gatekeep that. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But like also, just so you know, 90% of it is understanding how to take that photo, your exposure triangle, your lighting, Like that's 90% of it. The other 10% is you're thinking about framing and composition, yes, but like you're looking for moments. Like you really should be looking at capturing moments in time. Like that's my big thing. I like to, I think it was Rosh that made the joke that Paige always loves to see like people in pain. And it's not that, they're just so emotional and it's such a visceral point. I don't like, you can see the person behind the character coming through. Like this is a person that went and trained and thought about their character and learned how to do the craft. And now they're out there and they're like busting their ass and they're in the ring. And like, I'm going to be honest, they're in there for like 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes.
And that photo can last a lifetime.
Jumping, right. So like you start to slowly, as the match goes on, you start to see like the actual person like leaking through that, where they're like throwing their all into it. And that's what I like to try and grab, because that's who's looking at it like 20, 30 years down the road. They're not like, oh, this was this. Like, no, this was me. This was the name I wrestled under. And so that's what I look for.
What are some of your favorite places you've taken photos at?
IWC for sure.
That's where a lot of your photos right now, I think I'm looking at, and that venue looks beautiful. The way they have it lit is so good.
It's gorgeous. It's just a simple little squared setup up there. It's really nice. I love shooting there. Even like shooting, I think my first show, the photographer that was there.
I just found a photo that literally embodies what we were talking about. How if you don't know what you're doing, oh come on, load in, you son of a bitch. Like here's an example of where a place can be so dark, and if you don't know what you're doing, this photo is the hardest thing to take. But the way you took it, and of course now it's not working. I hate my life.
It's okay.
All right, I think I got it now. This right here, like this is this. So I'm gonna. So this is essentially the same venue and arena I'm gonna put up right here. So this is the same place, just to make sure we're on the same page. Now nothing's there again. Jesus Christ. All right, here you go. This place.
Yeah, that's
same venue. Look, the way you use the light on top, you're talking about the hard shadows, all that's there. here's the same venue, but not using the ring light. And you're using that one blue light in the corner, and you got the coolest photo of all time. But if a lot of photographers take that shot and they're like, oh, I have to throw that away because it's too dark and I can't see anything. But you use that one light source, caught a moment, and got a really good photo.
Thanks.
And I'm not even professional or even know what I'm talking about photography, but this is one I pulled up. I thought it was really cool just because I watched him as a kid.
I know. Okay,
that's the coolest photo of Tatanka I've ever seen in my life.
That show. Oh, he's so nice. I got to that show, and normally I like walk to the back and I set my stuff down, but a really good friend of mine, her name's Nat. I love her. Wonder Witch Boutique. She's killing it. I love her. We were just standing out there talking. So like, I didn't know he was going to be there. And then I saw him come up on the reset button and I was like, oh my God. So I was like, snap. Normally I try not to be like a shutterbug, but I definitely was when he came out. I was like, I can't miss
shutterbug,
this.
what you mean by shutterbug, you mean where you take rapid fire photos and
where you just hold the shutter down.
And you're like, one of these is going to be good when I go back and look at it.
Right. Which I've done before, because sometimes people like they'll come up with things on the fly and you can see like a lot of it's anticipation too. You start to like figure out pacing, not on their level, obviously, but like you start to figure it out and you kind of put two and two together when they're like getting ready to set up. So sometimes if I can see they're getting ready to do something big, I'll like press the shutter down. But not always. No.
And hope you get the moment.
Yeah. I mean, and I do. But sometimes it doesn't work. But Tatanka was great. That was amazing. I was like, I gotta get this for my dad. Like, if I don't, my dad's gonna be mad. He's gonna be like, are you kidding?
You met Tatanka. So that's what I always get when people are like, oh, you work in the wrestling thing, and then they go look at my photos and like the people I met. I'm like,
yeah.
If I wish I would have taken more photos, because the people I didn't meet are the ones I didn't get photos of because I was too afraid to ask for one.
There have been like one or two people I've seen that I'm like, oh my God, cool. Like they're great. But I never ask for photos. Social anxiety dictates absolutely not happening.
So here's some other photos I pulled up that are just breathtaking. The drive-in show.
Oh, I love the clouds and the
using
colors.
The clouds was so good.
Even Furious's gear here, just popping off of the blue and that matte and the greens. I can't stand it. It's great.
Another great
RJ City. Woo! Yeah.
Great photo. Great photo. This is not doing it any justice, just like kind of looking at it, because if you zoom in, man, you can literally see like the details and the thing in his mouth. It's amazing. Two of my favorite people in the wrestling business, the Neon Blondes.
I love them so much.
Once again, using the light in the background, getting that like glare, looks amazing. All the shadows and his abs look ripping apart. Here's one of the most wholesome photos ever, but he's being a giant scumbag. But this is where using your relationships and using your friendships in this business and being there a lot captures good moments, because you can literally tell in this photo, in the stupid smirk on his face, that he made complete eye contact and is fucking with you. You probably know who I'm pulling up, don't you?
Yes. Oh my God.
How is this dude doing a photo shoot during a wrestling match? So if you're listening at home, this is a shot of Killian McMurphy, who just probably slammed a kit wrap to the mat. There's a beautiful mountainous backdrop. Dustin's talking shit in the background, and Killian looks like he's at JCPenney just taking a photo.
He does.
Probably my favorite
always
photo.
One that I can tell he's posing, right? And he'll look at me and he'll be like, and he's like definitely throwing poses out.
And that is the brilliant move of just Killian in general. Because once again, this but that's a sanctuary move. When you're at the sanctuary, you're taught find the cameras.
Yeah.
Get the shot. That's Killian finding the camera, but also knowing that he probably knows who you are because you're good at what you do. And he's like, I guarantee if I look up, Paige is gonna be right where she needs to be, and then there's the shot.
Well, I always tell people like, I'll catch you. Okay. Like I always do. I always make it a point. I try and get people even photos of like people in their element, walking around, interacting with the other person. But like, if you got any big moves, let me know, so I can be where I need to be. But yeah,
I just from this experience here, I need one thing from you. You need to make albums of shows you go to, because there's 2,000 photos in one folder, and I'm you're driving me crazy. Make albums. This is promotion. This is this promotion.
I do. Are you on my Facebook photography?
I'm on your business page.
They should be in albums.
No, they're all in just one big upload folder.
I don't love that. I'm gonna have to fix that, because I do. I go through and I sort them. That's one thing that promotions have also told me. They're like, we love that you do that, because we are not sorting through 2,500 photos. That's
another amazing photo. This is like a before and after. So this is before.
Yes.
Right? There's Adina and Coach just killing the game. Now this is after, right? So in this moment, she's doing a suicide dive with a broken in 3 spots collarbone.
I know. It's like, oh my God, she's superhuman.
Yeah, Adina Steele. Just once again, and this is a venue where it's essentially just, there's no special lighting, no special rigging. This is just natural lighting and making it look amazing. It's not, and your photos, you're not making the place look unrealistic either, because there's some people who take photos and you're like, that's not the same venue I watched this show at. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, where did you pull this out of? So that's another thing. So here's a question. How much of your photo is the natural photo, and how much of it is post editing? Because there's people who do that as well, who will take a photo and almost make it look like it didn't even was taken in the same place. You don't do that. I feel like you bring out the venue more than you do add to it in post editing, because I think a lot of people spend more time in the editing process than they do in the actual photo taking.
This is true. A lot of it, honestly, is just color grading to the temperature of the lights. So, for example, IWC, the colors always throw very red. They throw very warm, because you've got very warm lights, and then you've got the red ropes, and then you've got it's like a light blue. But so that's always going to throw more warm anyway. So most of my editing is color grading. Like, I think the gym that Smash was at, those were coming out, I think they had tungsten lighting in there. So they kind of sometimes would have like a little bit of like a green tint. And then when you get the different blues, they end up pulling a little bit more cooler tone. So that's mostly what I focus on, is making sure not only is it accurate to the venue, but it's accurate to people's skin tone and their gear. Because like, that's my job. It's my job to make sure it looks like how it did when it was there. Like, I really try not to do, even with portraits, I really, really try very hard not to do any kind of like fine little editing, like fixing makeup or like anything like that, unless they specifically ask me to. Like, I fixed a homegirl's eyeliner or two, but nothing ever. Like, I don't go out of my way to like change anything. But that's most of it is color grading. Sometimes there's a little bit of, I don't even like to mess with the exposure, because you don't need to. You really don't need to. Like,
if your camera's set properly, you shouldn't have to.
Correct, right? I mean, that's that's literally 90% of it. That's like, I've always, like I said before, people ask me, how'd you get that photo? Like, how did you edit it? Like, it's literally 90% in camera. And if you pay attention to what file format you're shooting in too, you can retain a lot of that information.
I need to go out with you one day when you go photo shooting, and I want to bring my camera and I want to pick your brain and learn more tricks. I'll probably never use photography, but it's something I want to learn as like a side hobby. Like, I have a camera and everything. I just don't know what I'm doing with it. Like, I took some photos I sent you like at concerts and local band shows, and I don't think they were terrible, but that's 100% just me trying to learn how to set the camera up. That was no post editing. That was just what came out of the camera.
Right.
And I didn't know how to do any, you know what I mean? Like,
it's overwhelming. I will give people that. Like, it is incredibly overwhelming to like sit there and try and learn it. But like, for example, there's a guy on YouTube, his name's Jared Poland. He literally, for almost every major camera, so like Canon, Sony, Nikon, no, Pinhat, they don't.
So Pinhat says pretty sure that next to no wrestlers understand what we actually do after a show. After we shoot a show. Yeah, everyone's like, "Where's my photos? You took it with the camera. It should be good to go."
Yeah.
I need my photos right now.
Like right now. But like Jared Polin, he for like Canon, Sony, Nikon, he literally has videos. They're like an hour long, an hour and 20 minutes. He literally goes through every single setting on the camera and tells you what it's for, why it's there, his opinion on whether you should set it or not. And like, that's a really good baseline. And then you can start from there. You know what I mean? Like you can even Google it. My photos aren't sharp. Yeah. And there's Reddit threads upon Reddit threads. And there's YouTube videos. There's master classes. There's all kinds of things that I watch all the time where they talk about that. So, I mean.
Speaking of that, Alex, Alex, if you're here hanging out, please do me a favor. Go through her Facebook and find me two photos. I need the one where she took of Devontae's in the locker room. It's like a portrait style shot.
Oh, that's on my Instagram.
And I need the photo of when she took photos of Mercedes Martinez and Thunder Rosa coming out of the tunnel at the one
Alex,
show.
they're all on my photography Instagram. You can probably just find them.
Find those and send them to me if you can, please. Because there are two photos that I was trying to pull up because there's a cool thing I want to pull up with that. Anthony Gray's podcast says, "Hey Paige, what advice would you give people starting out to being a photographer?" Quit. No, I'm joking.
Oh my God. Honestly, gear doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, start with what you can afford. Honestly, like, don't go broke. You have to eventually put money into it. Don't go broke for it. And just learn your camera and take pictures all the time. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to understand, oh, that's how this setting works. Or that's what looks best with this. Or like understanding the Sunny 16 rule. You can read about it all you want with your aperture, but until you actually go out and you take pictures in it and you constantly are just taking photos, like honestly, learn your gear and go out and take photos.
Find your style, I would say too. Because I think everyone tries to recreate somebody else. I think that's in any industry. Someone tries to be the next something else. Be the first you. You know what I mean? Because you can look at people's photos and you can tell when someone's trying to take a photo that looks like a Paige photo. But a Paige photo and an Eric Pinhead photo are two different photos, and they're both gorgeous photos. Like everyone has their style. Everyone has what they look for in a shot. Just find your niche. There's a guy who comes to a wrestling show, and I'm so sorry I forget his name. I'm sure somebody will tell me in the chat. This dude shows up with like the old school style cameras, and he shoots every show with these old cameras. And
Pentax.
Yeah, and they're cool film. Because it literally makes a show in 2022 and 2023 look like he's shooting it in the 90s. And he super
gets
dope.
Some like good shots.
Yeah.
He gets really good shots with that. Like what is his name? I feel so bad because I wore him.
Eric Schaefer.
Yes. He was.
I knew Pinhead would help me.
I was checking my camera, which don't do that during a band show or a wrestling show. There's a term for it. Just wait till after the show. But I was like checking a photo and he's like, man, I have to wait like 2 weeks to get mine back and look. Must be nice. But he gets really, really good shots all the time. And he's another example of somebody that just knows how to find moments and catch them.
And it's so cool because they're like retro looking photos and they're beautiful. They're so good.
He's really cool. I love Eric.
And that's something you have been doing as well. Like at the bar we were at the one night, you were pulling out like old school film and old school camera. Like, you've been kind of going to like yard sales and like flea markets and finding old school cameras.
I am a fiend at antique and estate
That's
sales.
So neat.
I tried. I don't like going. They're kind of morbid, to be honest. Like, but I like go, and I genuinely.
Someone's Nana died, and you're like going through her property and buying.
I know it feels really uncomfortable.
Yeah, but you're keeping that piece of history alive, and not only are you keeping it alive, but like you're not taking an old camera and just putting it on a shelf. Like you're fixing it up, you're cleaning it, and you're using it, and you're bringing so essentially you can take that same camera, find a presetting in Lightroom or Adobe that is essentially like that style of photographer, like for that camera, and put it on your photo, but it's not the same.
No, there's little tiny minutia that go into it. But yeah, like I love going and finding those cameras. That film camera I was using at the bar, that was actually my pap's camera.
That's so cool.
He like gave to me after he passed. So it's really cool to carry it around. I get nervous having it out around because like that's all I got on my pap. But It feels really nice to take photos with it. Like he actually still had a roll of film in it that I haven't gotten
I asked
processed
Alex
yet.
to send me some photos of their thing, and he sent me extra ones, which is beautiful because that's another great thing about like photography is I can ask someone to send me their favorite shots you've taken, and their take and my take are two different things because what they see in a photo, but they're all great pictures. I'm loading up right now.
I was just gonna say Alex is probably gonna put some dumb meme up there.
He picked two of himself. I also say that.
Okay. I'm interested to see.
Yeah, so I have a few other ones that I pulled up real quick. This is a beautiful shot.
I love her. I love Queen Aminata. She's
My
so
God.
great.
The smoke and the lights and her gear and like everything just pops in this photo. Beautiful photo.
She's amazing.
Another good entranceway shot. That's beautiful. The light. Is that Cole Carter?
Yes. Or Coleslaw if you're not his fan at IWC. So Coleslaw, you know.
That kid, he's talented. I don't know why NXT let him go. I think that was a mistake. Another great shot here.
Matt Taven, that's Alex's best buddy.
Yeah. Look at the smoke and the lights, the lasers look so good.
And
this venue, where is this promotion?
They're at Marx's Court Time. It's in Elizabeth, PA. So it's outside of Pittsburgh by I think like an hour maybe.
If they're ever doing a show and I'm not booked, I want to go see one of their shows. This place looks so cool.
They're a lot of fun. Like 2 to 1 Media, Jeremy Klingensmith and his wife, they put a lot of effort into the lighting, the atmosphere, the spotlight, like all the camera work. They put a lot of effort into it. They're great. They're amazing.
Yeah. So here's the photo I requested of I know this was a triple threat match in my opinion. I was jealous that I never got to see this match live, and not only I didn't know you were there live, but you were taking photos of this moment. It was a triple threat match between Thunder Rosa, Deonna Purrazzo, and Mercedes Martinez, which at the time and still today are 3 of the best women wrestlers in the planet, all going at it. Now, I'm getting chills thinking about it. So this is where I'm gonna put Paige over super hard. Paige was at this event and she didn't have the opportunity to be ringside.
No,
but that's not stopping Paige. Paige, and she's wrestling. This is how smart Paige is. But here's the thing: if you're a wrestling fan, it's one thing. But if you're a person who's a wrestling fan but also knows the backstage and goes backstage and has those opportunities to be back there, there's a gap in professional wrestling that no one really gets to experience. And that's curtain to ring. Right before that curtain, or right as they come out of curtain, there's a transformation that happens. And every time I'm getting goosebumps right now, because every time I think about it, people don't realize how powerful that moment is in professional wrestling when right before a wrestler hits that curtain and they turn into what they're going to present themselves to a crowd. And some wrestlers will walk out and do that a little bit to the crowd and kind of give them a tease. But here's a captured moment of that. This is literally Thunder Rosa just hit the curtain and she's essentially transforming. She's turning into Thunder Rosa. Like she's hit the curtain, she's there, but this is just like capturing that moment. And there's a whole bunch of more photos that she has taken that was kind of like on one side of the curtain and then on the other side of the curtain. And they are the coolest moments of professional wrestling. I wish more photographers, like, listen, it's really important to be ringside and get those shots. But if I'm here's the thing. If I'm a wrestler photographer, there's something that just drives me crazy. There's people who are trying to film the show and there's people trying to take photos of the show. And when there's 758 photographers ringside, it looks like a New Japan show and there's just light bulbs going off and everyone's fighting over a spot.
Right.
That's not where all the action is. Get shots from the crowd. Get shots from a bleacher. Get shots, like someone be backstage. Dude, a shot of someone getting in their gear is just as powerful as a shot of someone jumping off a top rope. There's so many places you can put yourself at a wrestling show to get moments that a wrestler, like I'm telling you, if you literally take a photo, now be mindful because sometimes backstage there's wrestlers who are in masks who don't want people to see them.
Like even Rex, I don't go near Candids because they have a lot of luchadors there, and that's like an ultra respect thing.
And there's also some wrestlers that you would say like, hey, I can take a photo of you, like, you know, in prep mode, and this will never be seen by general public, and those wrestlers might want those photos too. And it really comes down to the photographer talking to the talent and becoming comfortable with the talent, and them trusting you that you're not going to put things out that's backstage that they might not want.
That's what I do at IWC. Like there will be times where there will be people that come through, bigger names, but they're there and they're like training with everybody and they're talking to everybody, and they really love those photos, but they know, like, I'm not gonna like post them anywhere.
Yeah, because it's very, very personal. But it's really like they're the moments that people don't realize that are probably for the talent more special to them than the ones in the ring.
It's a big full circle thing for a lot of them, I think, because you'll see their photos. For example, Chris Hero, he helps out at IWC, but he'll be there and he'll help people. You can tell there are people that, like, I don't want to say like they've known like before they started training, they're like Chris Hero, and he was like one of the guys that they watched, and then being able to like maybe talk to him and like get his opinion on stuff. It's a big full circle moment for them. So it's really nice to be able to capture that.
I just looked up and realized our 51 minutes. Holy cow, this is awesome. This is another photo. If you made this locker room look cooler than it actually looks, but this is once again an amazing backstage. So instead of setting up her area, out in the middle of nowhere and using the backdrop where like a lot of people bring, she essentially set up in the locker room. And I love how you use the locker with Zap taped on it. I don't know, like that just makes this photo for me. But
I love how grungy it is,
and all those tattoos and the way the lights hits, and you can read all of his tattoos. Like, what a great portrait! Like that is better than just a backdrop photo all day long. That's using your environment. That's beautiful.
I love the blue. The blue is actually from, it was dark outside, so that's the flash reflecting off of. It was some kind of weird. It was some weird colored. What was it? It's actually from the light coming outside. And I thought it was really cool because I saw it because he has that orange gear and then he has the blue mouthpiece. I was like, yeah. I didn't want to sit up in there. I was really nervous because there was like, I don't know what happened.
Devontae has a Kimbo look. Also, thank you, SM, for subscribing. People, if you use your first time on the YouTube side or if you're watching this somewhere else, I am trying to grow on the YouTube sides. But I'm at the point now. I'm not even. Thank you for subscribing. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, there was like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it flooded or what, but there was like some standing water in there. So like Alex was there, Andrew was there. I was like pushing cords up, hanging them up. Like, I'm not trying to electrocute nobody right now. But those are some of my favorite portraits. Like him, Philly Mike. Those are some of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, using that locker room. Here's some portraits that someone thought was really, really good. I agree with them. Good portraits.
Shut up, Alex. the pearl in the middle, the black and white. You're never leaving me.
I don't know what this photo is, so maybe there's a story behind it.
Oh no. Okay. Hey Siri, play Lady Gaga's telephone. We were at a Bodahana convention, and Alex, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a gaming convention, but the people that run it, they're actually they're therapists, so it's for a really good cause. They actually, a lot of people there, they build board games, and the one that they're building now, it was for assisting individuals with autism with like different skills, but they're they're learning them while playing a game. So this was during a break. I was done taking like candids for the day, and we were waiting for a panel to finish because he had a hard cam set up in there, and we were just outside messing around, and he was like, there was a joke there. I can't remember what it was.
I think he was crying for a second.
Yeah, no, he posed. I was like, because he was making a joke. He's like, I'm so important. I'm the co-owner of HTW. But like when he posed, I was like, do that again, but like, tell me to shut up. Tell me to shut up. And he did, and it came out really, really well. And he wanted me to get rid of it, and I was like, absolutely not.
Well, he picked it. There you go. Here's a photo that is super cool, and I think the lighting is dope. Everything's cool, but there's one other moment in this photo that I think Alex picked it really well. Look at the hair.
I'm sorry. That's Duke and Gannon. Duke is the one that's jumping right now. His hair is everywhere. Gannon is the one that's standing. This photo, like, went in and
that's not main event. Wait, what's her tag team name?
TME. It used to be the main event, but they shortened it to TME.
I was gonna say that was main event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the other main event.
But they actually wrestled main event versus main event in a main event.
Yes.
At
it was
Party
great.
Wrestling.
This was at WrestleRex last year. This is my first time shooting WrestleRex. This photo went in and out of my recycling bin, I think 3 times, because I loved it, but I was like, it's not straight. His hair's cut off, but I kept it, and it is easily one of my favorite photos of all time, because especially Duke, when he comes out, he's like what? I think he's like 6'5" or so. Yeah. He's huge. They both are. But like when they come out, like the crowd, the energy is unmatched. And Duke like jumps into the crowd and he's whipping his towel around. And like that is just, I don't know. I think it really accurately captures his energy.
Now here's a question for you. You're a photographer, right? You're either being paid or I'm not sure what the situation, but you're ringside photography. This is also a show where all the fans are ringside.
Yes. How
do you navigate that?
So this particular show, I had my own. So Mabel, please sit. She's up and she's ready to go. When you came down to the ring, the little entryway, there were 2 empty spots. And on the other side, Wrestling with Unicorns was kind of working around the ring. But then the one sliver, I'm so bad with names. It is embarrassing. Howard, he used to shoot at ECW a lot. Like a lot of their photos, Howard took. He was there. He's friends with a lot of the people that were wrestling and the people that were running the show. But we were just stuck right there in that little spot. And occasionally, like, I'd sneak up next to somebody with Wrestling with Unicorns. Like, I'm so sorry. Tell me to go away. If you need me to. But that's, you get like a little designated spot. But there were a couple shots of San Adonis and Psycho Clown. When they were up in the benches, you like move out into the crowd a little bit. So it's all about, I like to get to the ring early to kind of like, if I know where I'm going to be, I'll start taking test shots. Or like if there's someone I know that's in there like practicing, I'm like, hey, give me a jump or like hit the ropes. And like I'll just kind of quietly test and see what my setting should be based off of that. But I personally love that show. I loved the crowd being up against the ring. It's cool.
It's a cool show to watch like that. I like watching shows with the crowd.
It's a lot of fun.
And then like especially if the crowd has to do a moment where they're going to do a dive or they're going to do something crazy like that.
They go nuts.
Where they kind of have to be like, everyone back up. Like, I kind of like that moment where the talent move the crowd out. Like, we're going to do something, everyone scatter. And then you can have those moments where it looks like, move, like, get out of those chairs.
You can see there's a couple people that are like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, or like when the heels, like, move out of the way. I'm going to throw them in the chairs. And then they don't. And you made everyone move.
I think it's amazing. There have been a couple photos. It's mostly like, Garrett Dillinger. He does that at IWC a bit. He'll be like, I'm going to throw him out here. And he like brings him out around and just throws him back in the ring. And he's like, you look stupid. And those are like my favorite photos to get, where the crowd's like horrified he's going to throw somebody, but then they're like betrayed and disappointed that he did not. So like just that crowd switch over. Or like whenever I used to take shots around the backside of the ring at IWC, which I think I might start doing again. So when they're doing their rounds, when they're first coming out, like just seeing the sea of people separated by like a little tiny barricade, and then someone they either love or like really can't stand.
Yeah.
Like just seeing all the different reactions through the crowd and like the heel or the face, they're like, hey, or boom.
And the last photo we have that Alex picked.
Her jacket.
Yeah. That's right. That's a curtain shot. That's coming.
That was, I think she was waiting for people to come back. Like the match beforehand had just finished and she was waiting for people to come back. And they were announcing her match and she was getting warmed up.
One of these, now when I get my setup with my GoPros and I'm at a wrestling show, I don't know exactly where or how or when I'm going to do it, but I want to have a GoPro set up just at Gorilla, like facing the curtain before they come out, and just have it record and just have someone like just kind of before and after matches have someone go back and like start it and stop it, but just get those moments, like just like probably never put them out in public unless the wrestler wants it, but just kind of maybe you just send it to the wrestler first and be like, are you cool with this? But because I think that's such a cool spot that people just miss out on in wrestling.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know. Yeah, I just that zone, and the reason why I'm saying like I want to film there, but also I don't, because it is a very personal.
It's very
like,
private. Like,
it's a private moment. You know what I mean? Like, but it's such a powerful area right there. Like,
it is. Like, I mean, and there's a lot of people there too that very kayfabe. Like at WrestleCade, you kind of got an idea of like who was cool with it. But like most people were really cool with it. But I don't know. You kind of get a feel for it. Like some people give you a look like, please don't. You know what I mean? And other people like CW Anderson was really cool.
Dude,
and
that's
he
why,
like posed for me, and he was like,
I go to wrestling shows, and then like it's kind of more. And this is not me throwing shade. So if people are trying to dissect it, I'm not. But maybe I guess I am a little bit. I don't know.
Throw it.
It just like so. When I got this business, right, I come in and I go to every event and every show as a content creator, but I try to be respectful, right? And I think like a lot of people now are coming into the industry, whether it be, because I think right now the wrestling industry is in a weird state where like there's a handful of podcast creators or like content creators who have been welcomed into a show. Right. And then maybe people like me who have done it the right way and have been respectful have opened the doors for others to get opportunities to do this. Right. Or like because moments of like Pat McAfee, or they're starting to see on TV, like bring these outside content creators in because it can help bring exposure. Right. But then some people come in and they don't have that respect, and they just stick cameras everywhere and they do things and they go to spots and they act a certain way. And it's just kind of like, you can tell when a wrestler's not comfortable with the interaction because there was no, like, you haven't really earned that respect yet. And you can tell on camera if you're smart to the business that like they're not comfortable what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and then those moments are the reason why people like me don't get invited to certain spots, because that one person comes in and just fucking does whatever they want because they're trying to get content for themselves, but they're not thinking of the entire. Because like when you walk into a show or a locker room or a wrestling promotion, you have to put your content secondary. Yeah. And you have to put the respect and the teamwork of a wrestling promotion first. Right. And I think that's where like someone like me kind of stands out, of being welcomed into locker rooms and being welcomed backstage and being welcome to do what I do. Because I'm not going to blow up people's spots and talk about it. But also like, then you have that one guy who walks in and just fucking guy or girl walks in and just kind of shits on everything because they're putting themselves first over the promotion. And then it ruins it for everybody.
Well, I always, like, a big thing for me, especially being, and I hate to bring this into it, but especially me being a female, I am especially very conscious of the fact that, like, I don't want to say I'm looked at a different way, because I'm really not. Like, I'm one of the dudes, essentially, but also I'm a female. So personally, I don't like to be in locker rooms, like, wherever, like, even like at Smash, if I'm handing out a shot list, I dart in, or I have someone run in and do it for me, because I'm not supposed to be there. Like, to me, this is, I'm genuinely very good friends with a lot of the people I work with. But like when I'm there, I'm working, and we're all professionals. And like, it's not, like you show up and talk to your friends and chit chat and things like that. But I take it very seriously and very like professionally. So and I'm always cognizant of the fact that like I'm there as a service to the talent and the people running the show. Like they're not getting booked around me. I'm getting booked around them. Like I'm there to do a service for them.
Perfect way to bring. So you're there to get your photos and your moments and put Paige Watchey photography on the bottom corner of your photos. Right. But when you need to do that, you need to handle it a certain way to get it done. So my kind of take is, sure, I get invited to these locker rooms and I get invited backstage. So instead of sticking a camera in people's faces for almost a year and a half, I didn't tell anyone like that I did a podcast, or I didn't shove it down people's necks, or I didn't do anything. I just became friends, and I've earned my spot, and I put my content and my brand backwards and promoted the people that I was around and the promotions I worked for first. Right. And then I made connections and friendships. And then they were like, yo, I'd love to come talk to you on your podcast. And then when I have an interview with somebody, this is why my interviews stand out than other interviews, because I have a genuine connection with most of the people I talk to.
Right. Honestly, like that's what it all comes down to.
I just gave you all the secret to ABJ.
It's a lot of networking, like in just basic human decency and respect. Like if I ever, for example, have
tell
to
us about policy and procedures.
Okay, that's for my shoot job, medical staffing. It's actually about to get.
That's actually the policy and procedures of high tension wrestling, right there.
Yeah, it's yellow, and it's a warning sign saying, "Alex, don't go there." No, but like even if I have to walk through, like if you literally have to walk through a locker room for any reason, I try not to have my camera. If I do, I have a lens cap on it and it's pointed down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm always very cognizant because like I've been in very uncomfortable situations and I'm just very cognizant. I do not want anybody else to feel that way. Like, no, you know what I mean?
My first time ever getting invited to a show was GSW. There was one female on the roster, and that female used the same locker room as everybody else, and they're comfortable because they do it every weekend. And I remember setting my camera because that was the only spot we were able to film. And we set our camera up. We have like this. Oh, we got our spot in the locker room. We're gonna have our spot. We're gonna do interviews. And then we kind of looked around and we seen like this is where everyone's changing, and we have a camera here. And I looked at Brian, and then like the female talent came in, and I was like, let's dip, like because I'm new. I didn't want to make any so I left like when everyone changed because it was my first time ever there. And then I literally went back. I go, Brian, let's just pack up. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I didn't get one piece of content. And it was my first ever wrestling promotion.
Right.
My first time ever like working with a wrestling. And they're like, yo, you didn't get anything? And I was like, the only plus I had to shoot was the locker room. And I feel like I haven't earned that yet. And I don't want to make people uncomfortable. Like, who's this new guy with a camera back here? And people are having conversations and going over matches and talking personal stuff because it was a reunion show and everybody was comfortable. And I was like, that's not a spot that a camera should be. No. And that was my first time ever being in the business, but having that wherewithal to be like, yo, pack it up. We're not getting content. Let's go ahead and enjoy the show. Right. And then we did a car ride home review of the show we watched. And that was our content.
Right. I mean, like there have been candids I've seen where there are people literally in half stages of like undress in the background.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
And I just don't, if you're doing any type of editing and you're going through your photos and you see that, take it out. Like I wouldn't even put myself in that situation in the first place.
I've seen people take photos of people backstage and there's a clearly person who's not in mask in a photo.
Yeah. That bugs the crap out of me. That's also part of the reason why I decided to move the portrait area. I actually felt really bad. What was the gentleman's name that was at that Outbreak show we were at? The luchador, what was his name? Muertos?
Oh, Mil Mortis.
Yes. I felt really bad. I didn't know, he went back there to change and I was like, let me know when you're done. Like my camera and stuff's going to stay out here. He's like, oh my gosh, no, it's fine. I said, no, genuinely, I can wait. Not a big deal. Like, just let me know when you're done. And he had said later.
He appreciated that too.
Right.
Because I was there when you said it and I was there when he came out and like gave you props for that.
Well, and it's like, it's just a respect thing. Like my photos can wait. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay. I have a promo list, but like, I'm quick at it.
Yeah.
So
and
like,
that's you as a brand and as someone who's working just as hard to put your brand over, putting the promotion and the talent before yourself. And
right,
I think
like that's who books me.
Exactly.
You know,
like, I wish more people knew that.
Like, and it's not like, and you can still like, it's not. How do I want to describe this? Someone's like, it feels like I'm not respecting myself. But no, you are by virtue of respecting other people.
Or, bro, that's the only way you're gonna get ahead is kind of stepping on or just putting yourself first. No, it's not. Let
me tell you, wrestling and music is very small, and like
they all talk.
They all talk.
If you walk into a locker room and you're a disrespectful idiot and don't know what you're doing,
gone. Like,
everyone's going to talk about it.
I'm really not trying to be rude about it. And, but honestly, like, just err on the side of caution. Like, just don't do it. Mm-hmm. Just don't. Like, Howard, I know he was taking portraits out in the alley behind WrestleRex, but he's known all of these people 10 plus, 20 plus years. And even then, he's like, tell you what, meet me because I know you're getting your stuff on. Like, don't worry about it. Like, meet me out in the alley and we'll do portraits. So it's just really about respecting other people.
Yeah, I think that was I'm glad we had that conversation because I think there's a lot of people who, listen, you can have your camera set up, you can do everything, but I think if you're going to get in any industry or business, that's what you have to do first. Like, I understand it might be your first time there and it might be like, oh, here's my opportunity as a photographer to get cool things. but keep that in mind when you're working at a show or a promotion or something. Is like maybe introduce yourself as a photographer or as a content creator, or just make sure you're getting your content in a respectful manner.
Like if you're booked ringside, you're going to get content.
Yeah.
Like if you're booked for portraits, they are telling them, hey, I paid for portraits. Like Alex says this, Rosh says this, I paid for portraits. I paid for ringside. Like, I need you guys to go do this. Like, you're going to get your content, you know?
Like, and I think that's the thing too, is sometimes promotions, and I fall in the same categories as a photographer sometimes. Like, listen, as a content creator, if I'm not booked for commentary or I'm not booked for something, sure, I'd love to get content for myself. But sometimes wrestling promotions, they also overflood and oversaturate that one job. And not everyone's getting paid. So they're just like, hey, content creators, everyone and their brother come. And then we're all fighting for the same 2 pieces of content. And then it gets not like ugly, but it's like weird.
There's enough to go around for everybody.
And then like a promotion will be like, here's 17 photographers all fighting for the one corner spot. You know what I mean? Yeah. And sometimes more is not always good. Or if you're going to book multiple people in the same industry, assign people spots. Like, hey, I need you to be ringside. I need you for this. I need you for that. Because here's what drives me kind of crazy. Is what's the one thing wrestling promotions always are upset about? If someone runs in a town close to them, or if someone's too close to their competition, or if they run the same weekend as me, they get generally upset because that's competition around them. But then they'll bring in 14 photographers and then wonder why there's drama at their show between the photographers. Or they'll bring 17 content creators in, and they're just like, well, why can't everyone just get along? Why can't you run the same night as another promotion then? Like, everyone's still trying to do their thing. You know what I mean? Like,
I've never had an issue working with other photographers ever. I've never had an issue. You haven't,
but other photographers can be
right, and I don't get it. Like, if anything, I think I'm too nice sometimes. But like, one thing, I think sometimes I can come across a little bossy because with ringside, I'm not going to sit here and say, it's really, really dangerous. You could break your neck. But honestly, like, I've been doing it long enough. I know where people are going. I also know not to walk in front of hard cam. So when I have to, like, every 20 seconds, you're in hard cam or watch out, like, you have to kind of babysit. That's when I pull people aside and I say, and if I'm a jerk for it, I'm a jerk for it. I don't care. I don't want to see anybody's neck get broke.
Or hurt talent because you're in the wrong spot.
Right. I mean, like, because they tell me their spots. And it's nothing against you. You're new. They know that I've worked there. They know, okay, hey, like, I got to tell Paige this. So then when I pull someone on a side and I say, like, hey, you were on hard cam, that's a no-no. Not even like I'm talking to a child, but like, hey, like, just watch out for hard cam. Talk to a couple of people before to see like if they have any big spots they want to give you, and stick to corners, like stay out of the way of your roaming cams. You know, like I've never had an issue with it, but it does happen. Like when there's multiple people there.
I've seen times where there's so many photographers ringside and wrestlers are trying to do stuff and they have to stop their spot or their
and you sequence. Can see them, and that's embarrassing. If I ever feel like they have to stop and be like, how am I going to get around this chick? I duck, like I hit the floor. I don't care. I'll miss the shot. I'm not ruining.
I almost seen you go under the ring one time.
MIT and Jason Furious.
Yeah.
MIT. Yes, it's fine. It's fine. Tell your photographer your spots. But no, I saw him coming and I saw the look on his face. He's like, Paige is right there, but I'm already throwing him. And I was like, it's okay. And I just dropped. And he came and asked me, he's like, are you all right? I'm fine. I do it at IWC all the time. Like as soon as I see them come to the corner or anything, I drop, I hit the floor. The joke on the headset is Paige, you're in the shot. Cause like I do not want to be.
And I want to be very clear. This is not me or Paige saying that we don't welcome 185 content creators and 185.
Dude, I do. The more the merrier.
Bring them all in. Great. But I'm just saying, if you're going to come in as a photographer and you're going to come in as a content creator, just what we said earlier, you got to put the promotion and the talent before yourself and be mindful of that. And it is not a competition. I understand you're all trying to get content for your brand and everything like that, and that's beautiful. But at the end of the day, if you're being brought in and there's 950 of us as content creators, we need to work together because our overall job is to put over the people who are working in that ring and the promotion who is paying the money to put that show on. It's not just about your brand, it's about the show.
The more camera angles, the better. Like me and Forrest work side by side at IWC all the time. And like, I know, like I've caught myself on headset being like, oh, Forrest, use them gazelle legs, homie, get over there. I can't. You know what I mean? And that's great though, because like we both kind of go off of each other. Like we'll trade off. Do you want to get entrance or do you want to get entrance? Yeah. And a lot of it too is like, it's not dangerous being ringside, but like,
it can be.
Right. So I've been doing it long enough. I've gotten my like shit busted being ringside. Like I've gotten kicked in the shoulder, kicked in the face, like the whole nine. So like, that's why when I give you and I tell you these things, it's because I don't want you to have to go backstage and be like, I have a nosebleed or I cracked my lens. Like I really want you to avoid that.
Yeah.
So like, that's why I say these things. That's like when people bring it to you, they're just trying to help. Like
absolutely.
Yeah. So be open to it.
She's being mean to me. So here's the end here. We're coming up to the end. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. This is a long one. I love it. If you guys have any questions before we get out of here, please use this opportunity now to do so. Also, once again, make sure you check the links below to follow Paige on all social media and see her photos. And she does a beautiful, beautiful job. There's so much more we could talk. Paige, I could have you here for 3 hours. This is the problem where I try to keep a podcast to an hour and then bring everybody I really care about in on, you know what I mean? But yeah, so first off, I want to thank you for doing this. It means the world to me. You are hands down, and I know I probably say this every single time I'm on a podcast, that you are one of my favorite people. But I'm new to the game, and I'm here since October, and I have to get in a lot of people I truly care about, because like I said, I've made a lot of really cool people in a short amount of time in this industry, and I haven't interviewed really a lot of people that I didn't really know that much. I love those interviews. I love meeting new people. So I don't want you to think I'm just booking my friends. It's just that not a lot of people are reaching out, and I'm reaching out to my friends to come on. But seriously, every time we have moments and we have conversations, it's always a pleasure. And you're hands down a bright spot in this business, and I'm glad you're around.
Thanks. I appreciate you. That's very sweet.
Yes, real quick. It's an hour and 17 minutes, but we have to talk about Slithering into the Abyss.
Okay, Alex Watt, since you asked. Slithering into the Abyss, it is a multimedia production company. So I want to start making films, like feature films, short films. So that's where a lot of that content is going to start getting produced at. It is also where, when I go to different metal shows that I'm booked for this summer.
Yeah, we want to. If you're listening and you're a fan of me and you know that I'm also kind of intertwined between professional wrestling and local music scene. If your band is on tour, or you're going to be in a venue somewhere in Pennsylvania, or if you're a venue in Pennsylvania who needs a photographer for the event, please reach out to Paige. I'm giving you my stamp of approval. She's unbelievable, and she wants to add more music to her portfolio. Yes. She has tons and tons of wrestling, and she's proven herself to be the top, if not the best in this area for that. She wants to add other stuff to her resume. So if you need stuff done, if you need boudoir, what's the sexy photos in lingerie? What do they call those?
Boudoir shoots. I love doing those.
Hit her up if you just need photo shoots, because I know Valentine's Day's over, but you want to add a cool little thing for your guy. We know it's getting popular too when girls are doing like the old beer posters. You know how like the old school beer posters?
I love there's a way to do them tastefully, and they're so much fun.
That's getting popular. Like stuff like that. Like hit her up. It's not just she's not just getting photos of people diving through ropes. She can do portraits. She can do literally any type of photography. And even if she hasn't done it, I'm pretty sure she wants to be challenged as well. So hit her up, man. She's super, super talented. But go ahead. Slithering
into the Abyss is where when I go to metal shows, that's where a lot of the content's going to start going through as well. Is not even reviews, but just this was my impression. Like this is like how I got this shot. This is how I approached this show. Things like that. So like BTS in relation to photography.
You should honestly, and I know like I say this all the time, and then I go to shows and never fucking do it. Because I hate putting myself on camera, but like,
Same.
But everyone's like, yo, you should vlog your days at wrestling shows, and I love that. But the problem is I rather have the interaction with somebody, and I forget to pull the camera up and be like, oh, so today at the show I did this, and then I feel weird like in a corner by myself talking to my camera, but I would generally enjoy watching content if you were like, hey, this is what I'm bringing to the show today. This is what I'm doing ringside. Like before the show, like just cool. Like even if you did with your phone, just like a quick, like, here's what I'm using today. Here's my setup. This is what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to get some shots. And then after the show's over, like, here's some shots I took. This is the cool moment. Like I would be interested in that content, whether it be a wrestling show or a concert or whatever.
Well, and that's what a really good friend of mine, CJ Downey, he's a very talented photographer. He's actually one of the ones that did a lot of the WrestleCade portraits this year. We were actually talking about that the other day, about wanting to do more because people don't know, like they really don't know what goes into like, and of course in the realm of this podcast, like wrestling photography, but even music photography, like you just have no idea where to start. So the idea of doing that there. And like Alex had mentioned on the last one, a lot of vlogs and like more content that we've wanted to do that's not like wrestling related. He wants to drag me to another haunted attraction. So we'll see how that works out, you know, but so that's what it is. It's a multimedia production company. It's going to have a lot of different things under there. It's a lot of me and Alex's interests. So metal music, because, you know, I don't have enough time to play. So I'll just take pictures of my really cool friends playing.
What instruments do you play?
I play the bass guitar. My dad played the bass guitar. He was in yeah. So my dad saw me doing the slap and he's like, no. Absolutely not. He's like disgusted. Like I brought home my bass and he just starts whacking out Crazy Train and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, is there something you gotta tell me? My mom's like, oh my God, yeah, your dad used to be in this crazy like dive bar metal band. It was okay. That's how I met him. But like, you know.
And you're like, and I just learned this now? Like
I'm just learning this now. Like I knew my dad was a metalhead, but I didn't know he was like actually in his own little metal band. And then my mom's brother was actually in a really, I can't remember the name. I'd have to ask her, but he was a bass player. So I play the bass.
Love that.
It's like a passed down thing, I guess now, but I can't remember anything ever. So like I've tried to memorize songs. I'll be up there playing. And I'm like, guys, I can't.
The only thing I've ever learned on bass, because I was trying to teach myself how to play as well, was the beginning line to Feel Good Inc. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm a bass player.
One of my favorite things when I would go to like bass lessons. So like my music teacher would teach me, but then I would go to like an actual music store. The guy taught me, it's called Green Onions. And then there's like your 16 bar blues. And those two, once you learn how to play those, you can really pretty much play like any pop song you want. Everything's like a variation built off of those.
Yeah.
So like you can do 14 and 15 bar blues, but like Green Onions, especially like the amount of pop songs built off of that, wild. So that was my favorite party trick for a while. It's like, cracks back. I can play that song. And it's really just because I know the Green Onions.
Yeah.
But so I'd rather take pictures now.
Here's our last question of the day.
Yes.
Hunter says, Paige, if Paige was not a photographer, what would your dream job be?
A filmmaker, for sure. Like William Castle, Marty Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, filmmaker. I'm hella jealous. I didn't make Jurassic Park. I will always be jealous of that. Or I would be in a metal band right now. So one of those two. If I wasn't doing photography, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be moonlighting in a metal band, but I'd be a filmmaker.
Are you kidding me? How is Paige episode longer than mine? I think Paige might have the record for the longest episode as of right now. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Alex. I'm just interesting. What do you want?
I completely lost track of time. I looked up. I'm like, we're 58 minutes in, and I
was like, ooh, like I'm over here talking about Bernie Madoff for 20 minutes.
Yeah. I think if I wish I would have realized that I probably some of my mental shortcomings. I've seen a TikTok video where it's like, when you got really good or somewhat decent, a whole bunch of different things because you realize that you probably have ADD when you're an adult and you never really focused on one thing. It's a problem. I wish I would have honed myself in on one thing and instead of trying to learn 15 things.
I like, it was a losing battle. Like my dad tried like with music, with like the saxophone and the flute, and the bass guitar and stuff. But my mom, honey, she's
Like, I want to learn bass, but I also need to 100% complete this video game, and then I have to watch every single piece of wrestling content that ever existed.
It's weird
because it's like
I'll be taking a photo, and I'm like, what if I could learn how to like go do tattoos right now? Speaking of, that guy's tattoos are cool. I should go try that, which I would never do. Don't scratch.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle I get stuff done on commentary, because
I know.
if I put out what my brain is saying on commentary while I'm trying to call a match, like they're like, what a drop kick, but like when I get home, if primetime wrestling happens, and I'm still improvising in my brain. It's terrible.
Dude, Alex hears it all the time. My mom hears it all the time. I'll be talking and I just go off.
Mm-hmm. Probably I call them side quests.
Yeah, literally. Like, mostly it's been Bernie Madoff side quests. Like, how did nobody catch on earlier?
Yeah.
But they got out of, I think it was like $9 billion. Side quest, $9 billion. They got, what was it? I think they got like $6 billion back out of the whole thing. And that was all cash. Yeah. ADHD is not fun. It's okay, but whatever.
Well, Paige,
trades master of none, I guess.
Paige, I love you. You're a great person. I cannot wait to hang out again. Please, anytime you have anything cool happening, I definitely want to. When Slithering into the Abyss becomes more of a thing, I definitely would love to have you and Alex on to talk about it. There may or may not be social media stuff out. Just put it out there. I don't know if that's supposed to be out there, but there may or may not be. Go check it out. I found it by accident. They're like, you should follow this because we're friends. I was like, oh, click.
So we had it out there, but we just never posted anything. And Alex is like, should we maybe start like putting stuff under here? I'm like, I mean, I guess. Yeah.
But thank you for your time. I think you now have the record for longest podcast. I have to go check the record books, but I think you've done it. We will be back next week with some podcasts. So next Tuesday will be the boys from the Welcome Back podcast. I love these guys to death. So essentially their podcast is just two guys who met in college and then moved away from each other and then like still stayed in contact, but still like struggled between that friendship of not really seeing each other and being with each other every day from college, and then started a podcast during a pandemic, and they use it to rekindle their friendships and talk and hang out. So essentially you're hanging out with them and they're telling stories that are just essentially for them and having a fun buddy conversation. And when you listen to that podcast, you're going to feel like you're part of their friend group. And it's just really good. It's really wholesome content. I love it. Go check out Welcome Back Podcast. Then we have Shelby Waters coming on the podcast. And then we end the month with the Dina Steele.
Woo!
There it is. That's the month of ABJ Podcast. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Paige, once again, thank you so much for your time. We'll be live again at 8:00 tonight talking about Survivor Series 2002, the first ever Elimination Chamber. We're covering the show. I still have to watch some of it, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Late night last night, and then we're going to also give predictions for this weekend's Elimination Chamber. So join us again live again here tonight at 8:00. We'll see you guys then. Make sure you follow Paige and support her on all the links below, and we'll see you next time on the ABJ Podcast.